So you're, thank you. Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, April 26th, 2023. It is 9:30 a.m. and this is the SWAN Circulation Users Group meeting. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. I am Peggy Tomzik from Eisenhower Public Library, and with me this morning is Victoria. Victoria, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Victoria from the Riverforest Public Library.
And Victoria is my co-chair. So welcome, Victoria. Thank you for agreeing to be a co-chair.
Thanks for letting me join.
All right. And then we have some SWAN staff with us joining the meeting this morning. Would you like to kind of chime in and introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'll start. My name is Crystal Vella. Hi, everyone. I am the SWAN facilitator for this group, and I am the UX consultant here at SWAN. I'll pass it to Vicki next.
Hello, everybody. I am Vicki Totten, and I am the consultant in IT and system support. I'm going to pass it over to Tara.
I'm Tara Wood. I'm the user experience manager, and I will pass it to Cynthia. I'm not hearing Cynthia. She might be muted.
I got it now. I thought I hit it. Sorry. I'm Cynthia Romanowski. I am the Bibliographic Services Manager, and I shall pass it to Claudia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Claudia Nixon, Bibliographic Services Consultant at SWAN, and I will pass it to Sam.
Sam's actually out today, so let's go to Helen.
Morning, everybody. My name is Helen Pinder. I'm the SWAN Resource Sharing Consultant, and I will pass it to Scott.
Hi, there are a lot of us here today. I'm Scott Brandwine, the SWAN Assistant Director. And am I it? I think I might be it.
Yeah, you're it.
Great.
That's all.
Well, thank you all. Thank you, SWAN staff, for joining our meeting today. And I know that there are many of the representatives from member libraries joining us as well this morning. So thank you for taking time out of your busy mornings to join the meeting live. I encourage everyone to participate by unmuting yourselves and joining in the discussion. If for some reason you cannot, you don't have a mic, or you're not unable for whatever reason to share by unmuting your microphone, please do feel free to put your comments in the chat. And between myself and Victoria and Crystal, we will try to monitor the chat and make sure that your comments get represented in that format as well. So, you know, I really encourage participation during the meeting. It makes for a much more interesting meeting and a much more dynamic conversation. So I'm really happy that so many member libraries have joined us today. All right, our first topic on the agenda is box sets and how they interact with Aspen. And Tara from SWAN is going to be talking to us about that. So I will let Tara take that away.
I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay, Peggy. I've got
Absolutely. So do I need to stop sharing, correct?
don't have to. I think I can just steal it from you.
You can just steal it? Well, go right ahead and steal it from me, Tara.
All right. I think I've stolen it. Does everyone see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So we had a member library come to us with some questions and concerns about holds, especially on combo packs. And I was curious, and actually maybe I should have done this before I shared, but I don't know if you'll see a little reactions button in the bottom of your Zoom panel, but I'm curious about how many of you split your combo packs for DVDs and Blu-rays? If you split them, could you give me like a little thumbs up? Got one, 2. Only 2? I find that surprising. You can also put in the chat as well if you're not finding that reactions button. I'm not sure if it's there, if you're on an older Zoom version or something like that. Okay, so it sounds like a lot of you do not split combo packs. So this question came from a library who they prefer to purchase combo packs, so they have quite a bit of them, and they do not split. So I'm kind of just wanted to get your take because this does impact holds and how patrons place holds. So here's how the formats work currently in Aspen. We've got 4 movies. I'm looking specifically at movies here. So we have a 4K Blu-ray, regular Blu-ray. I wish there's a better way to say that, but regular Blu-ray is rather the clearest. Blu-ray DVD combo pack, and then DVD. The Blu-ray DVD combo packs, of course, have the Blu-ray and the DVD together. And so there's some holds considerations here. Holds in Aspen are placed based on a format. So if you place a hold on a book, you're not going to get a large print. You're going to get the format you place the hold on, which is good in most cases. Like we don't want to get like audiobooks if we place a book, for example. But this becomes a little stickier with movie formats. So if a patron selects a format your library doesn't have records attached to, so let's say your library exclusively tries to purchase combo packs and your patron places a hold on a DVD or a Blu-ray, they may be waiting a long time for that hold that could have been filled by the combo pack. And that's sort of where the main concerns come from. And then the patron's not prioritized for new items, so they may be waiting a really long time. And some libraries are manually transferring holds when they see that a patron, say, has placed a hold on a DVD and the library has purchased the combo packs. They're trying to move those holds over for patrons. And unfortunately, there's not like a great, we went down this rabbit hole with our Cersei Dynex consultants. There's not a great way to kind of move those holds en masse. It's a pretty individual process. So are there any questions so far about the holds and how our formats sort of currently work? Essentially, we want to hear from y'all about some ideas to maybe change up how we work with some of these formats. So there's some format player compatibility considerations. So, and this is kind of a long way of saying, we definitely want to have those 4K Blu-rays separated out because they only play on an Ultra HD Blu-ray player. So we don't want, we wouldn't want to just have all of our 4K Blu-rays and Blu-rays together. Patrons might get something they can't actually play, which would make people sad. We don't want to make people sad. And then DVDs can basically be played in anything. And the combo packs can basically be played in anything, but the Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray have some restrictions there. So here's some potential alternate options. So I didn't list the alternate option number 1, which is we just leave everything the same. We've got these 4 formats for our movies. But if we wanted to consider some alternates that might help out with the holds situation, number 1 might be that we group and that we kind of mush we can have the DVDs and combo packs just be under one format of DVD. We could also name it like DVD and combo packs, whatever we wanted to do. But then the patrons would essentially have, take out that combo pack option. And if they place a hold on a Blu-ray, they get a Blu-ray. If they place a hold on a DVD, they'd get the DVD or a combo pack. And then if your library does not separate combo packs, the patron would have to place a hold on the DVD to get the DVD Blu-ray combo pack. That's one option. Then another option is what we actually had previously in Enterprise, which we were grouping the combo packs with Blu-rays. It wasn't necessarily by choice, but it's still also an option. Then if the patron placed a hold on the Blu-ray, they get the Blu-ray or the combo pack. And if they placed a hold on a DVD, they would definitely get the DVD. And then in that case, if your library doesn't separate combo packs, the patrons would they'd have to place a hold on the Blu-ray to get the combo pack. So those are the options. What are your thoughts? Do you like it the way it is? Would it help your library in any way to have these combo packs, instead of having a separate format for them, have them kind of have those records fall in with either Blu-rays or DVDs? Has anyone else experienced this kind of challenge at their library with patrons placing holds on the kind of quote unquote wrong format that your library doesn't purchase?
Tara, do you mind if I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Does anyone here not know if your library separates them? Do you just get them out at CERC and you have a DVD and you have a Blu-ray and you don't know if they ordered the combo pack and split them?
This is Cindy from Indian Prairie. Yes, I was just texting and emailing to find out what we do, because I just know once it's processed what we have. I don't know what they're purchasing beforehand or when it comes in.
Same. I was trying to look for our tech person. I feel like we split them up, but I'm not 100% sure. And it looks like, is it okay if I read the chat?
Yeah.
Jane says, we do not know, but I'll find out. And Sarah says, I'll get my tech office to give feedback.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and thinking the exact same thing. Like, the one thing I'm thinking about is I don't observe a lot of disappointment at my service desk, with patrons saying, oh, I got the wrong thing.
Okay.
So is that helpful to you at all, Tara, that, like,
yeah, we don't want to disappoint people.
Right. Right. So, Jane is saying we don't either, so, what I'm thinking about is whatever's happening up in my tech department and whatever's happening when patrons are placing hold in Aspen is obviously working out pretty well, at least at my location, because I'm not observing or overhearing a lot of patron disappointment when they come to pick up their materials.
I agree with Peggy. That I didn't know if we split these tells you a lot, that there's not paid guests and patrons having mixed it up. So I agree with Peggy. I don't know if it's an issue on our end.
Looks like Denise at Sugar Grove says that they split them up, but patrons place a hold prior to getting split. So then they just call and ask the patron what they prefer, the Blu-ray or DVD. That's excellent service. Sarah says they separate when they come in, but haven't noticed the patrons getting the wrong item. I think it's probably less of an issue for those of y'all that do separate. What were you going to say, Peggy?
Yeah, I'm just, see, I think this is turning out to be important information for you, Tara, in a different way than maybe what you anticipated. See, and the first thing I'm going to, just like everyone else, the first thing I'm going to ask my tech person after this meeting is, what are you guys doing up there? What are you ordering and what happens after it arrives?
Yeah, I mean, I think a really savvy patron would know they could be getting away with a lot, you know, they could be placing a hold on multiple formats if they wanted. But yeah, I think what's happening with some of those libraries that don't separate is, you know, patrons just see, they see Blu-ray, they see DVD that are available from other libraries, and they're like, oh, I have a Blu-ray player, I have a DVD player, and they just slap that whole button and don't really think about the combo pack, which is kind of a weird format, I think. Sherry says you like option number 1 from the patron standpoint. Can you elaborate on that, Sherry? About the benefits you see putting the DVDs and combo packs together? If you're able to unmute, feel free to unmute, but if you just need to type in the chat, that's fine too. I will say, I don't know that SWAN staff, as we've talked about this, have a stake in this game necessarily. I can see disadvantages to both. Okay, so Sherry likes option number 1 from the patron standpoint. The wording is really clear. Like it, so if it's Blu-ray or DVD. Which, so to play devil's advocate a little bit, if we group the combo packs with a DVD, we could still have the instance where someone wants a DVD, places a hold on the DVD, or I'm sorry, they want a Blu-ray, they place a hold on the Blu-ray, but your library's combo packs will not fill that hold.
Tara, are you seeing Martin's comment?
Yeah, so patrons say they place hold on combo packs specifically so they have a backup disc if the other is scratched or unplayable. I love these stories about how people are so smart and think of things that I would never thought of. Julie asks, why don't we want to catalog the combo packs separately? They are separate right now. They're their own format. So this is the current, this is how the formats currently break out.
I don't know, Julie, are you asking? Oh, okay. I was gonna ask if.
Oh, just why make the change? We don't have to make the change. This is something, essentially one of our libraries, and we're not sure, we're kind of trying to get a sense of like how much of a challenge this is for other libraries. We just have one library that's really struggling with patrons placing holds, you know, in this case on like, they see Blu-ray, they place the hold, they see DVD, they place the hold, but the library is exclusively purchasing those combo packs. So their patrons aren't placing the hold on the format that they have. And we don't necessarily need to make the change. This may just be, you know, one of the challenges that comes with not splitting out those combo packs, that there's just some holds management involved. So yeah, we definitely don't have to. We don't have to make the change. But I just wanted to throw it out if this is, get a sense of if this is an issue for other folks, what your thoughts are. And I'm hearing a lot of you are just kind of saying like, it's good. Good as it is. And maybe one vote for option 1 of grouping the combo pack with the DVD potentially. Yeah, another chat that the combo packs can be handy for patrons that aren't tech savvy and don't know a Blu-ray won't play a DVD. Actually a Blu-ray player. Where'd it go? A Blu-ray player will play a DVD, but yeah, it won't play in a DVD. I see. Yes. Yeah, that gets confusing for me. As I was writing this, I was like, there's the player and the actual disc. Yeah.
The
Yeah. Well, something else we could explore too are just some simple language changes and see if that might be a place to start if it's not is it just like Blu-ray plus DVD? Is that something that gets more people to mash that whole button than combo? Is that confusing? I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm hearing more. This is not like a widespread problem. No one's saying like, oh my God, I'm like moving all these holds left and right. People are not getting what they want. They're waiting forever. So it sounds like our path right now might just be to sit tight with our current with how things are currently working and maybe continue to monitor and yeah, and if y'all hear from tech services staff at your library, reference services staff, stories of people kind of struggling with this particular scenario, that would be good to hear. But it's good to hear so far, at least this hasn't been a widespread problem for most folks.
All right. Any other comments on this topic for Tara?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Tara, thank you so much. I can't wait to see talk to my tech services people after this meeting. They're gonna be like, why are you asking me this? All right, moving along in the agenda, the next item is circulation map training with Vicky.
And this time I can't share until you stop sharing.
Oh, I have to
Tara is
stop
a
sharing?
magician. Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll
Thank
hit
you.
stop. I'll hit stop share. All right.
Okay.
Let's see if that helps. Does that help you, Vic?
It sure did.
Okay.
Everybody seeing my screen now? Circulation and hold maps?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I know this is the most exciting thing you guys have ever dealt with, right? And those of you who have had a fine-free consultation within the last few years, it's a review for you. But when it comes to the circ and hold maps, I find that reviews are helpful because it's one of those things where you kind of set it and forget about it. And then you might be finding that you have you're coming up against a lot of overrides at your desk or things like that. And that's something that we can help you out with just by looking at your circ and hold maps. So if you're wondering where you can find what your settings are, you have two ways of doing that. You can go to the SWAN support sites and if you hover over documentation, select ILS configuration, and then just go to the circulation and holds configuration page. And there we have all of the Excel sheets out there for you. These are updated monthly, I believe it is. So when I pulled these in, they had last been updated on March 24th. So what you're looking for is the circulation map itself and the hold map. We do also have out here the bill reasons, the payment types that are available, and the circulation rules that we have in SWAN. Okay. One of the things that we keep in mind when we're looking at circulation rules is the circulation rule name is what shows in the checkout glossary when you're in the patron's record. So in display patron, or excuse me, it's display user wizard, right? But when you're in that wizard and you're looking at the checkouts tab, that dotted underline that is under the item barcode, if you click on that, that is the glossary for all of the checkout information. And what shows in there is the circulation rule that was used when the item was checked out. So we try to make sure that we're formatting the names of circulation rules to give you more information about what the circ rule is. So we take those first two characters there, and that's going to be the loan length. So in this case, this 3W0F0G2R1M, again, limited to 10 characters for these. So we did have to try to come up with a formula for it. So the first two characters are loan length. In this case, it's 3 weeks. You may see some that say 7D. So we don't have a 1 week. We did 7D because we had a lot of 3-day loan lengths as well when we first migrated. So we've got the loan length, then the fine rate. In this case, this is a circ rule that's being used by a fine-free library. So there's a 0 fine. If they were charging fines, you would see something like 10C if they had a 10-cent fine. Next is the grace period. The grace period is only used if you are charging fines. So if you see a 0 fine, you're going to see that 0G after it. Then we have the number of renewals. So in SWAN, we have the ability for 0, 2, 5, or 10 renewals. In this case, this is a 2 renewal. And if we stopped right there, that is the most commonly used default circulation rule right now in SWAN. We do have 70 libraries now that are fine free, and a majority of them are using this 3 week, 0 fine, 0 grace, and 2 renewal circulation rule. But in this case, we have a max checkout. So not all circ rules have a max checkout. And this one, we do have one, and it's a 1M is for 1 maximum. So what you might see here sometimes is a Roman numeral at the end without an M. So in this case, the M is not a Roman numeral. It is actually standing for maximum. If we had a 10 max checkouts, then to indicate that we might do an XM here or just end it in 10. It all depends on how much else has needed to go into the the circulation rule, excuse me. So circulation maps, do all roads lead to checkout? I know the patron would like for them all to lead to checkouts, but sometimes we can't do that, right? So circulation map always reads from the bottom up, and it's looking for a match on these 3 data points to find that correct circulation rule. So it's looking at the library. Where is the checkout taking place? It's looking at the user profile, who's attempting to check out, right? And then the item type. Sorry, couldn't find a graphic here that had more than books. I am still searching for one. I know it's out there. I just wanted a simple one though to match the others. So those 3 data points, that's what it's all workflows is always going to look at to figure out if the patron can check it out. And if so, how is it going to check out? So we have here, this is the Hinsdale portion of the circulation map. So again, we've got, here's that library. Where is the transaction taking place? Here's the user profile and the item type. So I said that we read the circulation map from the bottom up. Well, Workflows does, so we do the same. So this first line that's here, when you look at the name of the line for the circulation map, we have started about, I think half the libraries now have this new naming convention. So we've tried to make the name of the line match the circ rule as well. The only place you'll see this is when you're looking at the spreadsheet that you download from the SWAN support site. So for this line here, we see that at Hinsdale, with their in-house _2 users, so any of their in-house users that have that user profile, they want all items to check out to those users with this circ rule. So this is a 7-day, 0 fine, 0 grace, 0 renewal. Then we come up to the next few lines here, and you're seeing that it's only showing Hinsdale patron user profiles. So in the case of device special collection 1 and laptop, those go out to HDS adults for these separate circulation rules. And then equipment J is able to be checked out by their juvenile and adult patrons, as well as all of these item types. So they do have separate circulation rules, so they're not all on the same line. But then on the very next line here, for all patrons attempting to check out at Hinsdale, you see all of these item types are listed. This is how we limit checkout of items to your patrons only. And in the case of Hinsdale, they only want laptops and whatever items they have with device special 1 to check out to their adults. Everything else here, the juvenile patrons can check out as well. And then this stops here. Nobody else can check them out. And you'll notice that periodical N is in here as well, even though it's not down here. And that's because they don't want their patrons to check out those items either. So we are able to group item types and user profiles together in the circulation map. This is a change that happened when we upgraded to, I forget which version of workflows it is, but we were very happy when this happened because we used to have separate lines for everything in the circulation map. And this has allowed us to really kind of collapse how big our circulation map is. And just remember, smaller circulation map is a happy circulation map, right? So there are also some hourly loans. So in this case, their device _in is checking out for 12 hours. And then with 0 fine, 0 grace, and 0 renewals. And then we just continue going up. And if you don't have it spelled out anywhere else down here in your section of the circ map, whether it's the user profile or the item type that makes that checkout special, then it's going to check out for your default circulation rule. So in Hinsdale's case, again, here's that 3W, 0F, 0G2R. So if it's not listed here in the circulation map, it checks out for 3 weeks with 2 renewals. Any questions so far? Feel free to put them in the chat, and also you can just unmute and ask me as well. There is further down in the circulation map. So at the bottom of the circulation map, we have some system-wide settings, and that's how we control those at the very bottom. And that is where we have the checkouts for our generic patrons, like your missing and your discard users, things like that. We also have a system-wide checkout for outreach patrons with the outreach user profile. And that is what keeps things consistent for the outreach patron. We do have the blocks on Chicago patrons for certain item types, and that's just a little teaser. That's next on the agenda. And then we also have a block for reference book. There are about 4 libraries, I think, that allow their reference books to be checked out for a shorter period. So Hinsdale is not one of those libraries, but if they were, we would have a line below the block for checking out reference books at the bottom of the circ map that defines how long that would check out for that library.
Excuse me, Vicki.
Yes.
Hi, this is Sarah from Richton Park. I don't see on that non-circulated area for Hinsdale any reference books and things like, do they still have a section that's referenced? Because generally those things are non-circ. So how is that covered in the circulation map?
They do, and most libraries do not circulate their reference books. So we have at the bottom of the circulation map, there is a section, there's a line that has all libraries, user profile of all, and then the item type of ref-book. And that is a non-circ circulation rule.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you do, as I said, there are a few libraries that want to allow patrons to check out their reference books in, but for a much shorter period. I think mainly what's down there are maybe 2 or 3 day checkouts for the reference books. In those instances where the patron really needs to finish a project, that kind of thing. I think that's why they have them there. So now we're going to talk about the hold map, because that is just as exciting as the circulation map, right? So do all roads lead to a hold? This slide should look a little familiar because the hold map is also reading from the bottom and looks for a match on those 3 data points. So again, it's library, where's the hold being placed, which library? User profile, who's the patron placing the hold. Sorry for the typo there. And then the item type. What is the item type being placed on hold? So here is a section of Chicago Heights hold map. The hold map still works the same way the old circulation map works, in that we can only put 1 item type and 1 user profile combination per line. So if we look at the bottom here for hotspot, for Chicago Heights hotspots, here's the library the hold is taking place at. The item type is hotspot, and then all patrons, it's no holds. So they don't allow holds for their hotspots for anybody, and that's how we take care of that in the hold map. It's the same thing for their equipment. They don't allow their patrons or any other patrons to place holds on equipment. So the next 3 lines are for their new rental item types and for their patrons. So if a patron attempts to place a hold on an item, a bib record where their item type is new rental, and they are a Chicago Heights juvenile patron, it will allow the hold. If a Chicago Heights adult patron attempts the hold, it allows the hold. But if any other patron user profile attempts to place the hold, then it will block the hold. It's the same way with their new books and with their special collection J. So they have a smaller hold map. There are some libraries that want to limit all of their new material, or a majority of their new material, to their patrons first before they open them up to either interlibrary loan or just allowing other patrons to place holds to pick up at their library. So this is with the blocking all holds. That's also how some libraries don't allow holds for their Lucky Day collection. It's very rare to find anything in a Lucky Day collection that is holdable. So if your library does want to use that, that's how we accomplish that for you. And it's just that we need those multiple lines there for accomplishing this. Are there any other questions about circulation and hold maps? Okay, I'm not hearing any. So I will end this. And this is the next item on the agenda. And are you seeing now the SWAN support site?
Yes, we are.
Great. So I have brought up the news article that we put out on April 6th about the limits on Chicago Public Library patrons. So that Chicago_P user profile. I do know that this went into effect yesterday. And this looks like a mess of a jumble here, and it is kind of a mess of a jumble. So when I was showing you the snippet of the circulation map, at the bottom of the circulation map, we have a line for the Chicago P patrons. So on that line, it has at all libraries with the Chicago P user profile, all of these item types are a non-circ. So I don't know if you've started hearing from any of your patrons yet, of your Chicago patrons, I should say. But again, this did go into effect yesterday. And we hope that you're not getting a lot of negative feedback from those patrons. It just does help to make sure that we're going to be reimbursed for anything that a Chicago patron does not return. And I believe that is my section of the agenda.
Thank you, Vicki. That was
You
a
are
lot of
welcome.
information.
It is, right?
Mhm.
And it's a lot of talking, so I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me.
Does anybody have any questions for Vicki before she leaves us? No? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right, as we move on with the agenda, the next item on the agenda is a question that came in from a member library. And the question was, how do libraries manage their new items? And it kind of is great timing to ask this question because it's related to the circ map. And the member library wants to know if libraries immediately make their new items available to other libraries, or do they limit their new items to local patrons for a period of time? So does anyone want to share how they handle their new items?
Well, I'll go first.
Okay, great.
We
Thank you.
most of our new items are checkout for our patrons only. And I think we usually use a time period of 6 months, but it does vary like based on shelf space. And so we do lend out, I think, like our teen middle school new books. It just kind of depends on our collection size. And then Sarah said only our patrons can place holds on our new adult fiction, nonfiction, and new movies. Anyone can come in and check them out, which that's also the same for us. If you come in, you can check them out. It doesn't matter.
Okay, and I see that Stacy from Hinsdale is saying holds on new items are limited to Hinsdale patrons, but anyone can come and check them out. Okay, anyone else want to okay, and Pam from Glenside is saying that they share all new items with all patrons throughout SWAN, both holds and checkouts. And Martin is saying that that they follow the same practices as Hinsdale for Oak Park.
We love the libraries that can afford to do that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, and Sandy Frank is saying at Thomas Ford, we don't place any restrictions on new items, holds or checkouts. Okay. Anyone else want to share what they do? So I'm sure this is very helpful information to the library that asked the question. All right, somebody's giving a big thumbs up to Glenside for sharing all their information, all their materials. Okay. All right, let's see, Forest Park is the same as Hinsdale. Oh, everybody's sending a lot of love to Glenside. And then some libraries also follow the same practice as you know, it seems like some libraries are following the same practice as Hinsdale, and some you know, and then some libraries have a policy very similar to Glenside. So for the library that asked this question, I hope this information is very helpful. Okay, anything else on that topic? All right, Victoria, would you like to take the next agenda item?
Sure. What presenters have you had for staff training days that were great?
Okay, has anybody had a
I guess maybe, are you all mostly just having like staff meetings at your in-services? Or are you bringing in outside speakers? We do like a mix of both. Denise from Town Sugar Grove said we had Amanda. I'm gonna butcher the last name. Morsuccio for book mending from COD. Oh, that's a cool one.
That is interesting.
Can write that down.
Mhm. Helen is saying we had our local police department give us the same active shooter training the elementary kids get. It was illuminating, if awful.
Yeah, we've done that. We actually had I don't remember where it was from, but we had these two presenters come in and do an active shooter training that was a lot more sensitive. And that went over a lot less scary for staff. They were very thoughtful and very sensitive, and we took lots of breaks in between.
Now, that can be very intense.
Yeah.
We're gearing up for our in-service day at the end of May right now at Eisenhower. You know, so we're in the planning stages. So we're doing we're kind of working on how the agenda will look for that day, and we're doing we really don't have an outside speaker planned at this point, Victoria. But we're doing a review of a lot of our procedures. For instance, we do Code Adam at our library, you know, if there's a child that's missing. So we're going to go over that procedure, that process with staff. We review annually, we review like our tornado procedure. If there's a tornado, we review our AED training. So on our in-service day, we do those sorts of trainings, but we do them in-house. So, you know, different staff members present those trainings for staff. So I don't know if that helps you at all. And I'm saying that Martin is saying that a few years ago, we had Janice Del Negro from Dominican come to lead us through a how to tell your own story workshop. And it was wonderful. It was great. So he's saying that was really good. Sherry Harrison is saying Ryan Dowd is amazing. So that's another suggestion. Julie's saying that they're doing CPR and AED training. Vicky's saying that when she was at Cicero, they had a speaker come in and talk about helping unhoused patrons that frequent the library. So those are some other suggestions. For things that libraries often do. I don't know if any of that will help you.
Yeah, we actually were doing a customer service one. I ended up finding, she came and spoke 15 years ago at our library, and her parents are patrons of the library, but she's going to come and do a customer service one. But I like having some backup ideas for our next one.
Mm-hmm. Michelle at Villa Park said they had fire extinguisher training. That's always a good one. So, and Claudia is saying one of my dreams would be to give Zingerman's to do an all-staff training, but they're expensive. I took a great customer service training with them. Engaging even for Zoom. I'm sorry, Claudia, I don't know who Zingerman's is. Are you able to share more about that?
Yeah, I think they're a deli or a restaurant based out of Michigan of all places, but they have a pretty robust training program that they provide online and in-person trainings. What I took with them was the art of giving great service. And they're definitely like top-notch customer service focused. I'll share the link to that in the chat.
Okay. Well, if they're expensive, maybe a couple libraries could go in on that together. That might be a possibility. And Vicky is saying SWAN staff is available for in-service days as well. That's good to remember. And Martin is saying John, and I know I'm not going to pronounce his last name correctly, John Sharaska from Every Library is a good speaker if he is available.
We had John come to speak at our library, but I think it was prior to Every Library took off a few years back, so I think we were lucky to get him. I think he's just all over the country now, so I'm not sure if he'll be available, but really good speaker. There's also another really good speaker that we had, but I can only remember the name, Michael. He had long black hair and glasses, and that sticks in my head because he was quite striking to look at, but he was a really good speaker, and I wish I could remember his last name. He also spoke at a conference in Madison that I went to as well, but I've been doing all sorts of crazy searches on Google to try and find him, but I can't find him. I'll keep looking.
Tara's asking if it was Michael Stevens.
Let me look, Tara. Let me try that name and see.
He was a professor at Dominican who sounds like he matches that description.
Maybe.
He's now in, he's not, he left. I know, I think he went to San Jose after Dominican, but.
Oh yeah, that is him, definitely.
Okay.
Ah, there you go. Thank you. That would have been driving me crazy all day. I think it looks like maybe the Library Journal.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's a really good speaker. He's very engaging. And I think that like for staff engagement days, sometimes it's the ability of the speaker to kind of get the room pulled together and create some camaraderie in the room rather than maybe the subject matter sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important. Anything else about that topic?
Thank you everyone for your great ideas. I wrote down a bunch of these.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. We just wanted to talk briefly about NCOA neighborly practices. And a member of library had an experience where, and I hope I can kind of relate the experience correctly, where one of their patrons moved to another service area. And then the patron called their new library and asked for some holds to be placed. So the new library, in their enthusiasms to assist the patron, removed the bad address block from the patron's account and placed the holds for the patron without asking the patron to come in and get a new library card. So what happened next is that there was an email bounce for that patron, and it went back to the patron's original library. And that caused kind of a service breakdown with the patron and the holds, and it created some issues. So I think, I think what the library was asking is that maybe it might have been best to handle this situation in a different way. Because the old barcode was still being used to place these holds for the patron. And there might have needed to be some other, it might have been better for the patron to be issued an actual library card before the holds were placed. Maybe some updated information needed to be gathered from the patron because an email ended up bouncing. So things didn't work out. In an effort to really be enthusiastic with the patron moving to a new service area, it might have been better for the patron to come in and get their library card before they started placing holds on an account that had been flagged by NOCA. So I hope I'm relating the story correctly, but I think what's being asked by the library that kind of brought this up is that there needs to be communication between the old library and the new library, and communication with the patron that they need to come and get their library card at the new library before you start transacting business. Is any of this making sense to everyone? I have to apologize. I've not been feeling well, and I'm still kind of regaining my footing, so to speak, and I'm not sure I'm relating the story as well as maybe I can. So does anybody have any comments about this or any questions about what I'm relating to everybody?
Hi, Vicky. I just wanted to, I think you're stating it well. I wanted to simply add that it's more important that libraries that are entertaining that approach to the user's privileges, that it is something that is agreed upon between the libraries that are involved, and that would certainly create a kind of an awareness that if things go wrong, here's the reason we're doing what we're doing, rather than doing that solo flight and hoping that people are amazingly understanding, meaning the users, many times when we think they don't get it, and we try desperately to make their experience a good one. But the best experience that they can have is one that for, avoids those little pitfalls and still gets the job done. So yeah, it's more a communication issue of library to library, making certain that each are in agreement with the approach to the matter, allowing both parties to make recommendations on what they feel a better practice might become, or as a consortium, perhaps we just need to establish in CERC rules a best practice that guides our, our entire function, so that we're doing things maybe not identically, but at least we're mirroring what one another is, trying to achieve.
Thank you for that. So I'm looking at the comments in the chat, and somebody said, yes, this makes sense. Thank you so much, Gabby, because as I say, I'm still kind of recovering from an illness and I'm kind of regaining my work footing. And then Pam is asking, is the new library aware that this mistake occurred so they can address it with their staff? And I'll be honest, I don't know that part of the story. So I hope so. That's, I think what we're all kind of agreeing upon is that there has to be communication between the two libraries. So hopefully they were made aware, or, library A was able to kind of reach out to library B and say, hey, this happened, can we talk about it? And then Helen is saying, I think the best practice in that scenario, if they really wanted to place those holds for the user in absentia, would have been for the new library to re-register the user, issue a new card, and hold it at the desk pending in-person registration. And yeah, that's a great solution, Helen. And then Vicky's sending the NOCA documentation, the NCOA documentation. So I think this is a great discussion to have. And, I think it all just comes down to communicating and just picking up the phone and just having a discussion with the other library about how we can work together to serve patrons and get the patrons what they need and what they're hoping for. And I'm just always reminded, like when my husband and I are working on something and maybe I get like a little ruffled about something, my husband can always stop me in my tracks right away by saying to me, hey, remember, we're on the same team. And that's true with us as, in the consortium, we're all on the same team because we're all trying to make our patrons happy. So picking up the phone and just talking to somebody and working it out and figuring out a solution so the patron can get their items goes a long way toward working the whole situation out. So hopefully, the library that brought this up and wanted this added to the agenda, hopefully this conversation kind of helps with the situation that occurred. Does anybody else have any other thoughts or anything else they want to share about this particular agenda item? Victoria, you have anything you want to add or share? No? Okay. All right, great. Moving on with the agenda, then we have our council game hold limits and the checkout limits discrepancy. I think
Hi.
Crystal, you were going to talk about that?
Yeah. So I'm sure Sam would have summarized this much more eloquently than I will, but I will try to muddle my way through. So recently it had come to our attention that there was some concern over patrons, holds, checkouts, and their console games. So all patrons are blocked from checking out more than 3 games SWAN-wide, regardless of where they check those console games out. But if your library has console games that are holdable, patrons can place any number of holds. So the problem is that, you know, they can kind of stockpile a large list of holds then while only being able to check out 3 at a time. But unfortunately, right now, there is not an automated way around this. So hold blocks work 2 ways in Symphony. And one is in the user profile, and that's where you can say this total number of holds a patron can place. So not regardless of item type. So, you know, if it's that cap at 3, that's across everything, books, DVDs, everything, audiobooks, the whole bit. So it's just total number of holds. And each library sets that on their own. And then there's in the hold map. Now in the hold map, it can say 2 things. So it can say an item type is holdable to specific users like Vicki talked about, or an item type is non-holdable to all users in general. So, and Vicki kind of laid that out earlier with her training. So we just wanted to kind of make note that these are the 2 ways that how hold blocks work. What is missing is that piece saying, you know, this specific user can only place this many holds on this specific item type. That's just not where we're at in Symphony right now. Sam did look into enhancements requests, and she did find one that is out there that we all voted on, you know, and hopefully that will someday get there, but that's just not the reality that we're in right now. So for now, we're just advising that you would ask your patrons to pay special attention on their console game holds and suspend holds when others are available. And, you know, suspending will save their spot, you know, it'll hold their position in the hold queue. And then when they unsuspend it, they'll populate right back to where they were. So they're not like missing out on anything. And so then they will hopefully not run into that issue as much that, oh, you know, well, you already have 3 out, but you're here to pick up 3 more, you know, and you're not ready to return those 3. So that's just kind of a little bit of an update. This came up in a previous circulation meeting. So we just kind of wanted to make sure that we circled back around, did our investigating, and let you all know that that's kind of where we're currently sitting. And that's the best practice that we can provide right now, is just to advise your patrons to kind of suspend their holds and watch those, especially if they're avid console game users and they're running up against those, you know, checkout limitations. So thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate that. All right, that comes to the end of all of our agenda items. We do have a few minutes before the meeting ends, so we do have time if anyone has any other questions or anything else they would like to ask before we end the meeting today. So would anyone like to unmute and ask a question? Share any information before we end the meeting today?
Vicki, I do have one kind of a quick overview, but it may require something directly with a specific library that has experienced this. We're eliminating all of our previous registration cards that were on file very meticulously, because we're trying to make certain that we have signed database registrations before we get rid of that single piece of proof that there's an agreement at the issuance of the library card. How did other libraries, if there's someone out there who you've already experienced this where you no longer have registration cards in your building, how quickly were you able to eliminate them? And what do you regret having done by doing it maybe too quickly? So we could use help with that. Right now, since our major purge of inactive accounts, we waited until that was done before we began to remove registration cards. and we're checking each individual user profile to see that the signature is currently on file, replacing that registration card before removing it. And we're planning on taking all of those cards on our shredding day and tossing them in the shredder bin so that we know that they've properly been disposed of, so that it protects the user's privacy. So any experiences out there?
Does anybody want to share it, what their library's practices are with Sarah?
Yeah, at Riverforest, we only hold on to them until like the end of the month, and then staff go through and double check them. And then any issue ones are set aside for me to take care of, and then we shred them. And when we first did it, I think we must have gone through double checked, and then we just shredded them all. And that was many, many years ago, and we've just kept that procedure. And I love it. It works great. I don't think there's any regrets that I can think of that we've had with it.
How were you able to eventually get signatures on all users on your database? See, right now, we still have that barrage of registration cards that was the single connective piece with our with the library's loan rules, the privilege of having a card with us. And we're not removing a registration card right now until we've secured the signature on the database. Did you have to do that, or did you even think about, maybe did you just take them and get rid of them when you started with?
Yeah, we have a signature pad attached to our computer. So as part of the sign up process, they go through the agreement on the signature pad and sign virtually. And if it's missed, we'll just put a note in their record to grab the signature next time.
Yeah, we're not having any trouble with our new registrants. These are, users who we've had for years that once we went to the signature pad, we didn't have their signatures on the database. We've done remarkably well in collecting a lot of those signatures, but I just didn't know how other libraries arrived at the decision to dispose of the registration cards. Did you worry at all that doing so, you didn't have a signature assigned agreement any longer with that user who had the card, say for 10, 15 years, or that just didn't matter?
Honestly, oh, you go.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but Sarah, we haven't had registration slips in our library for a good 25 years, long before signature pads. And we have not worried about not having that registration slip or a signature. Since we got signature pads, we did add a note to all the records without a signature, just to grab one. But it has not been a problem. It has not been a problem. Patrons understand their responsibility and negate their responsibility regardless of if there's a signature or not.
This is true. Well, thank you both for that. Thank you.
Also, Sarah, Jane had put in the chat, the library card agreement is on the card itself that the patron signed. So on their library, so Jane, do they sign the actual library card? Library
we
card
no longer do that. Yeah, we no longer have them sign the library card because that's in their possession, not in ours. That's why we don't bother with that.
And Vicki is saying we can add a note to the patron records to add the signature, then you can remove the note when you collect the signature. So that's something SWAN can help you with, Sarah. So Vicki, are you saying you could just universally put a note on every single patron's record
that
for
does not
Sarah?
have a signature? Yes.
Yeah.
That I'll be getting. Thank you so much for that one. That's the route I'm going to go. Thank you very much.
Help at swanlibraries.net.
Oh, just send Vicki a ticket. She'll take care of it for you.
Like I've never sent her one. Yeah. Okay, Vicki. Thank you.
See how I'm volunteering you, Vicki?
That's what we're here for.
Helen is saying, just make sure you remove those notes.
Correct. Clean database, right?
That's right. That's right. Anything else? Any other problems? Any other problems SWAN staff can solve for you guys today? See?
I
Martin says,
just,
Martin says that should be on a t-shirt.
Peggy, if you don't mind, I just kind of wanted to let everyone know a little bit of that, just about Message Bee, that Michael and I will be doing some training come early May. So if you haven't, booked your spot already, we will be having the Message Bee training on May 9th and May 11th, and those are up on L2 for you to register. And if you can't make it to either one of those either one of those training sessions, we will have a recorded one up later on that week too. So in case you have to miss it, don't fret. We will have that recorded and available for on-demand learning as well.
Can I ask a question about Message Bee quick?
Sure.
The only thing that's changing today, do I have this right? The only thing that's changing today is the text messaging messages.
Yes,
They are coming from Message Bee now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the failed message information will come to our generic email box from Message Bee.
Right. So it'll be sent to you just like the old ones have before, just through that alias, and you should be able to see anything that was failed. And Michael is here as well, so he can jump in and tell me if I'm lying to you all. But yeah, and so he actually just posted the news article. So if you're that we have SMS up and running, email will come later, where you're doing the slow rollout kind of thing.
And you'll receive the, I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in.
Ahead.
And you will receive that notice digest the next day. It reports on the previous day's failures. So you won't be, just an FYI, you won't be receiving it today, but tomorrow, your first one.
Great.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we adjourn? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out of your busy days to join us this morning. It's greatly appreciated. On behalf of Vicki and I, Victoria and I, and the whole SWAN staff, we truly appreciate you joining us today. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, June 21st at 9:30 a.m. You will be able to register that on the SWAN website. Until then, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank
You can
you.
stop recording.